a mass discussion. Can't you see them dad boys are casting? Testing competition on their podcast mission. Never know what you get. It's chaotic precision. If you don't know, you better find out the dad pack. Are here to prove a point. We three kings just believe that you don't want to tussle with them. This show is thunder. Subscribe and tune in, and you're laughing to the very end. Don't turn your back on the dad pack. Don't turn your back on the dad pack.
Put the kids to bed. Dad's home. We are the DWO podcast, representing the Dad World Order. I am the pretty-faced Papaw. No, not Tom Selleck. It's me, Mr. Magnificent, Mike Martin. And with me, as always, the rest of this patriarch pack. We've got the big bad bearded daddy. He is Big Rig Eric Maffey.
If you hear me, baby, let's go.
Hang on. And he is the perpetual mid-carder and the two-time world record holder. He is the wrestling t-shirt guy, Bo Cephus.
Cowabunga, indeed. It is day 1259 of consecutively wearing professional wrestling t-shirts.
Pretty amazing, man. And what I have to say, what an apt shirt you've worn today.
Yeah, I wore it on purpose.
Ultimate Warrior shirt. I figured you did. Because right now, we got a little bit of WrestleMania 6 going on right now. The Ultimate Challenge. Because tonight, joining us, we have a very special guest. Cephus got that Intercontinental title. Well, guess what? We got the guy with the winged eagle. Mr. Justin Deming. Sir, how the heck are you?
Hello, Dad World Order podcast. It's great to be here with you. I am doing fantastic. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be, first of all, I mean, if we're talking about crazy tattoos, is that a Dad World Order podcast tattoo?
We all three have them.
Boom, bam, bang. I mean, wow. Okay. So I'm in good company here. I'm in good company.
Yeah.
We
That's
were
awesome.
almost 3 years old as a podcast, and I think it was around the 1 year mark. We were like, let's get this tattoo.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We
it's
literally
great
got
to
them
be
all
on
knocked
with
out
such
in
a
a
great
day.
group of friends.
Well,
Yes.
thank you, man. We're glad to have you here. So I had actually seen your tattoo at one point, but it wasn't with your face in it. It was just your belly, and it was a meme.
Mhm.
And it was like, a wrestling meme, like,
Yeah.
you think you're a wrestling fan, whatever. So I've seen it a million times. And then our boy Seafair at Squared Circle Expo decided to wear a crop top all weekend. And everybody was just going nuts because, Seif, do you want to go ahead and...
Well, see, I was inspired by your tattoo, to be honest with you. In fact, you could go look back. I don't know what episode it is because we've done hundreds of these episodes, but in one of them, I called you out right before I was about to get my tattoo. I was like, his is shit. Mine's going to be great. Wait till I get mine. And then lo and behold, I ended up getting it. And when I got it, I assumed when I posted it, it would go viral, but it didn't. It didn't go viral. I've got a decent amount of followers across a bunch of different social medias, but it didn't really go viral to start off with. But then I met Chris Van Vliet, and he took that photo, man. And it was like half the comments were talking shit about my belly button. The other half of the comments were tagging Day Mofo. And for those who don't know, that is his Twitter handle there, or his social media handle, for lack of a better term, I guess. But as soon as I saw that, I was like, why do they keep tagging this guy? Who is this guy? And I think it was your Twitter, and it had a picture of your tattoo. I was like, that's the guy. That's the guy. I've seen this guy.
Right.
And I think we're the only two people on the planet with professional wrestling belts tattooed on our belly, which is crazy. Well, you really think
until recently, I was the one. And then all of a sudden, on my side of the planet, having, not previously been exposed to the Dad World Order podcast up here in Rhode Island, I was getting tagged by everyone. everyone, like, with this Intercontinental title tattoo. So the same thing was happening to me, where it was like, wow. It was, in fact, I went to a local dispensary in Massachusetts nearby, and one of the workers was dressed up in some wrestling attire, and I said, "Hey, I have a great wrestling tattoo." I showed them. They gave me $5 off. It was great, you know.
Yeah.
Co-worker walked up to me and said, "Is this you?" And it wasn't me. Brother, it was you.
Wow.
I was like, this guy's ruined my life.
I stole your gimmick. But hey, listen, like I said, I was absolutely inspired by your tattoo. That's where I got the idea to do it. And I am such a fan of the mid card. You know, that's why he called me the perpetual mid carder as we started this. I've always been a fan of the workhorse of professional wrestling. So I was like, man, I think I'm going to do that. And
The very first person that tagged me, someone made a comment to the effect of like, "Oh, he's not even the main event in his own mind," or something like that. You know, something that you've
there
heard
were
a million
lot
of these
those
jokes by
comments,
now.
man.
yeah.
And I said, nothing but respect for the workers' title.
Yeah, I think
You
I
know?
saw that exact comment. That might be where I
Before
originally on who you were.
that was before we had ever talked, sent each other a message, followed each other online. It was just like, I know what kind of psychosis you need to go get a tattoo like that. So I was like, this guy's awesome, you know? And the Intercontinental Championship was actually on the line at my first live wrestling event.
Oh,
January 1st, 1993, at the old St. Louis Arena, which has since been torn down. Shawn Michaels defended against Marty Jannetty
Wow.
in the main event. So, you know, that belt you have tattooed on you means a lot to me. So, good work.
And you know, with Marty Jannetty, actually, when we met him a couple years ago, he walked by and I was like, I stopped him. I was like, "Hey, Marty, I want to show you something." And I showed him and he was just like, "Can I take a photo of that?" I was like, "If we can take a photo with you, yes, you can." He was like, "All right." So we got us a free photo with Marty and showed him the tattoo. Everyone who's been Intercontinental Champion that I've shown it to has loved it. Have you gotten to show your belt to a lot of people? That any former champions?
I've shown it to like a handful of wrestlers in person, both like WWE and like independent and things like that. But I think it's probably the biggest pop I got actually was Mr. Anderson in TNA actually filmed a video. And he was like, "I've seen a lot of crazy wrestling fans, but this guy takes the cake." And he like did it all the way around me, you know, and it was pretty cool, you know. It was to some social media app that probably doesn't exist anymore, but because it was back in this TNA run. But I enjoy more so than like showing to wrestlers. I enjoy showing to like fellow fans. That being said, like it would really mean a lot to me if, you know, before either of us leaves the earth, I could show it to a wrestler like Bret Hart, you know, who was, you know, when I was very young and very new to WWE and just renting every video cassette I could from the local grocery store, you know, back when the video store was inside the grocery store. Renting every WWF event I could to just expose myself to like what this title was and meant, you know, and why it was such a big deal that Bret Hart was the champion at the time. And he was a big inspiration to me growing up. So if I could show it to someone, it would be Bret Hart. As far as like having shown it to like different wrestlers and stuff, like it's always an honor, but it's an honor like as a fan of what they do more so than like, you know, but you know, they do what they do because they are fans and they always pop, you know. So
yeah. I gotta say the weirdest Intercontinental Champion reaction I got was from Curtis Axel, and he was like, he looked at me like I was half crazy, and then he was like, "All right, it's pretty cool." Like it took him a minute though, but he was just kind of like, "I can't believe you would do that."
His old man, dude, his old man was one of my favorites.
Oh man, for sure.
Oh yeah. And I remember when he won the Intercontinental title, that tweet he did where he said, like, I never got to join my father in the ring, but I got to join him in the record books.
Yeah.
And that was powerful, you know?
Yeah.
I'm putting over the Intercontinental title huge, guys. Come on.
To be fair, you picked the hell of a design of the championship to get yourself, man. I like that you got the winged eagle. A lot of people, you know, they had pick and choose on their favorite styles of championships. I like that one an awful lot. I'm also a fan of Big Gold, like he's got up there. I almost got Big Gold, but I was like, man, Big Gold has a storied history, but there's just something about that Intercontinental for me.
Well, I think there's possibly, and not to speak for you, but possibly a reason that we both got like previous championship designs, you know? Like for me, the belt I have, the Winged Eagle, clearly represents the World Wrestling Federation Championship from 1988 to 1998.
Yep.
Which for me was like, you know, no matter what happens to the title or the company or the like this belt, those stories, that's been said and done and told, and like that belongs to us as fans.
Yep. That was my era, dude. That's
yeah.
I feel like we're probably
although it was great to see Kevin Owens with it recently. You know, that was that was great when the Winged Eagle made a comeback after that Saturday night's main event, and Kevin Owens carried it proudly. So
do you think that kind of cured all the fans? Like, you don't hear as much clamoring now for them to, you know, to change the title since they brought that back for that little stint between Cody and Kevin. I feel like that kind of quieted some of that talk.
I feel like it was the perfect nod and wink to the Winged Eagle era, but ultimately, like, that era is over. You know, that era was 88 to 98, and it's wonderful to go back and wonderful to celebrate and wonderful to watch those matches and think about those stories. But like, it's okay that things move forward and change, you know? Like, having this tattoo, I almost prefer that they don't use it in the company constantly, you know?
Don't ruin it.
Yeah.
Well, I can't remember who it was that said this, but I heard a talking point. This was a few years ago now, because everybody's been clamoring like, oh, the WWE titles are hideous and everything. Personally, I don't like the way they look either, but I understand why they are the way they look, because they are essentially a marketing tool at this point. Because who gets WWE belts? Super Bowl champions. When they're in that Super Bowl parade, they're holding up with the giant W on it. They're not going to give them a Winged Eagle belt.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
it's got the logo. It's synonymous with WWE. It is what it is. You know,
the World Heavyweight
they would.
Yeah.
What's that?
I think the World Heavyweight.
The World Heavyweight, I think, is a nice.
It's a balance of both.
Compromise where it's got a cool design. The logo's still there.
I really think they nailed it. I would own a replica of that. I think it's
I think the new I was one of those fans that conceptually had a problem with the newest World Heavyweight Championship, you know. Okay. When they introduced that, I was like, first of all, one of the two belts Roman Reigns was holding at the time said World Heavyweight Champion on it, like said those words, you know. But it was also just like WWE has been in such a terrible era of unifying and creating new titles and unifying and creating new titles, and to the point where their own like WWE title lineage is a little squirrely when they talk about Roman Reigns as like an 1100-day champion, but he wasn't WWE champion more than like 800 something days. You know, he was Universal champion, which they use interchangeably now. So the whole convoluted mess. I was very weary of the World Heavyweight Championship, and I have to say that as a fan, I've been won over by the hard work of wrestlers like Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest and Gunther and Jey Uso and everyone that's like taken a title that, the company has made convoluted and just making it about good stories and good matches. So
Really
I've come to
has.
love the World Heavyweight title, where I used to kind of hate it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it takes time to develop that culture. You know what I mean? With the Universal got screwed with Finn, I think, because with Finn getting hurt like that on day one, it definitely kind of started it off in the, I don't know, like there's already a curse on it, if there, I don't know, but I like the situation we're in now. It makes sense. Everything kind of has representation for both sides of the gambit too. So we got, I like that the women now have women's United States champion and women's Intercontinental champion as well. I feel like
that's great.
Yeah, I don't like that Becky won it from Lyra though. That fucking louse of a woman.
Well, I mean,
Jezebel.
we're not supposed to, right?
I guess
That's the beauty of it.
I guess.
So let's talk pain real quick, bro. How many sessions did it take you? Who was your artist? And do you have other tattoos? Where would you rank this on pain level for you?
Okay. Pain level, just starting there, was very. I tried different approaches and different sessions on how to manage the pain. There were sessions where, like, maybe you're not supposed to drink when you're getting tattooed, but maybe I'd have like a beer. There'd be sessions where maybe I would try something else, some jazz cabbage, let's say. And what I found was
lettuce.
the best way to approach the pain level was just like absolutely sober-minded, and because then I was able to control my breathing and my calmness and not be very reactive. So, I mean, you all have tattoos, so you know what I mean, where it's like your mindset has a lot to do with the process, a lot of my tattoo is in really unfriendly areas of like the stomach and the sides, particularly because mine goes all the way around.
Yours goes around
it's
the
a
back?
full belt all the way
Oh,
around
no
me.
shit.
It goes
He
around
wins.
the back.
He wins.
You win. I mean, you already had the superior championship, but I stopped might as well show it at this point. I stopped at the sides. So I got a Frankenstein.
All right.
I got a Jack as well. So I stopped. That's crazy. I
Wiener
didn't know you
showing.
were
Which you're beautiful, your body's beautiful, your tattoos are beautiful. Like, that's awesome of you to share. I will share as well. But I should take this moment to note, I didn't realize you guys were a video podcast for a while. Since I discovered you, I was downloading on like my podcast app, and I didn't realize I could be looking at your beautiful faces this whole time. So while I show this, where are you available? You're on Facebook Live, Instagram Live? How can people find you while I show off this beautiful tattoo?
We're gonna get a photo up too.
We are quite literally everywhere.
Look at it.
Look at that. Wow.
Wow, you really did go
Side
all the way
plates.
around. Golly.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's awesome.
Dude,
Yeah.
I want at some point in our lives for us to meet somewhere, whether it's a convention or a wrestling show or wherever, and I just want you guys to face off with your bellies out. That's all I want.
You have to at some point.
It literally must happen. It has to happen.
Just saying, we're gonna have a table at Squared Circle Expo in 2026 in Indianapolis. Just saying, you know what I mean, right? It's March 18th and the
March
19th?
28th
or 28th. Okay, yeah.
Let me, I can't quite commit to anything on air, but let's let me write that down. March 18th.
It is
28th, actually.
28th. Damn it, Eric.
28th. March 28th, 2026.
Yeah.
Yes.
in Indianapolis,
But we will have
the
cable
true
there.
home of indie wrestling.
Yes.
Dude, I'm telling you, that's if you are a wrestling fan. I mean, there's quite a few wrestling conventions out there. That's one you don't want to miss.
Bret Hart was
It's
there
really
this year.
special. Bret Hart was there this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a Dreamwave wrestling show in Illinois that I almost flew out to do a Bret Hart meet and greet, but the funds, didn't
Yeah,
become
no,
available
I
at the right
get it.
time.
I
They
get it.
sold out. But to everyone watching, the best deal in wrestling, I think, is IWTV. I spend $10 a month. I get to watch Beyond Wrestling, Wrestling Open, Dreamwave Wrestling, all kinds of independents from all over the United States. So that's just a cheap plug for no reason for IWTV.
Hey,
We're
more wrestling
that
is
and
better.
Triller guys for sure.
Yeah.
Or
If you've
what
never
used
checked
to be
out
Fight
Triller
TV.
Lots of. There is like no wrong way to enjoy wrestling.
No.
Yeah.
And that's what I love as a fan right now is like a lot of people online seem very heated and very upset about wrestling in a way. They want to argue with each other. They want to be cruel to one another when in reality, like I've been a wrestling fan since the late 80s, early 90s. I don't think there's ever been a better time to be a wrestling fan. I don't think there's ever been more
No.
wrestling at our fingertips. I don't think there's ever been more streaming services where you can watch wrestling. Um, I was from a generation, I literally recorded WWF superstars off of syndicated television onto a VHS cassette tape, So like I just think it's a brilliant age. And if everyone could just be a little kinder to one another, and in that regard, I just wanted to bring up the first podcast of you guys I got to listen to was with Jonathan Joss,
No.
late friend of the show, and everyone should go out of their way to listen to that episode and hear what a kind man that the world lost.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It was
Appreciate you
so
saying that, but
chilling.
yeah.
It was a very weird. You talk about we've talked often about how our lives almost feel like they've been written by someone and we're just following the script. That was one of those moments to the T because when I'm sad, I watch King of the Hill. When I'm happy, I watch King of the Hill. When I'm bored, I watch King of the Hill. King of the Hill has been a relief for me for a long time. And like to have him on the show was like this level of I did it. Like my dad, he's passed on, but he would have been so fucking proud to know that I had John Redcorn on my show. You know what I mean? And that we're at this level of success that we can get someone of that level. You know what I mean? And when we got off that podcast, we went on our vacation because that was the last one before our vacation. And it was just like a moment of like, yeah. And then when all that happened, it was just, it was absolute terrible, man. It was, I don't know, like it was like living in a movie scene to find out all that stuff went down.
It hit very close to home for me because he died in a hate crime, and I currently live with my partner Jeffrey. Even though I'm a dad and have been married to a woman in the past and everything, I'm in a situation where, sometimes it's very scary when people are just so upset with the idea of you,
Right.
Yeah. For
not
no
who
good reason.
you are, not what you're about, but just the idea of you,
Yes.
And so I just wanted to say for anyone tuning in on my behalf, go back a few episodes, listen to one with Jonathan Joss, and try to be kind to one another.
And for the record, I almost wanted to say something when we first talked about him passing, but I didn't want to muddy the waters. Anybody that brings up his mental health and that the fact that he was like, because there's a video of him freaking out a few minutes before the incident went down. And
You know what he found?
yelling. He found his dog's skull placed to where it was like set up to where he could see it. And it upset him to the point to where he was beyond upset. And he even told us on the show he had drug issues, so he could have been under the influence of something. openly admitted to using methamphetamines. You know what I mean? Like he had issues, but that didn't mean the man had to die. And anyone who says it wasn't a hate crime because they have this history, I've straight from his husband said that the guy pulled up, called them the F word, and started there, and it proceeded from there. And it wasn't friend exactly, and it escalated from there. It was absolutely a hate crime. Just because that man carried darkness with him and had a couple issues does not mean he deserved to die. And it didn't mean he deserved to die in that way at all.
Right.
In front of his husband, in front of at his family home. It's been a hell of a thing to live through, because I made friends with him in the last few weeks before he died. You know, two nights before I had texted him. You know what I mean? Like, because he was they had debuted the new intro for the show, and John Redcorn drives his car across in the intro, and I was like, wow, a guest star gets a part of the main intro of the show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's so crazy.
He said, to be totally forthright, like, I was not a big King of the Hill or Parks and Recreation guy. Like, I've seen episodes of both, but it was really through everyone tagging you in my social media and learning about the podcast and wanting the opportunity to come on and talk to you guys that I first turned on that episode. And so in a way, I have you guys to thank for introducing me to the late Jonathan Joss. And I thank you for that, because he just came across to me first as like a perfectly human person, you know, and I think a great example for all of us. So I just wanted to encourage everyone, if you haven't, to go back and listen to that episode, because he has some great things to say and is unfortunately no longer with us, and that's to all of our detriment.
Yeah, and that's something that I was saying last time. Like, at the end of that episode, I'm pretty sure I said something along the lines of, I'm going to remember this for the rest of my life. And I'm so glad that we have that hour immortalized for us. I can go back and watch that whenever I want till the day I die, you know? And I'm just so thankful that we had that time with him, you know, and we're able to get to know him on a more personal level. Because, like, if I had never had that episode with him, I would have seen that story. I would have been upset by it, obviously, because I'm a fan of King of the Hill, fan of Parks and Rec. The nature of what happened, it being a hate crime, that would have pissed me off. But just having that hour with him, it made that shit hurt when I found out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, it was like, I just talked to this guy 2 weeks ago, and we had a really wonderful conversation. It had an impact on me because it was something that I'm like, I'm going to remember this forever. You know, maybe we can get him on again at some point. And now it's just like, nope, not going to happen.
I mean, the conversation was so in depth and like personal, you know what I mean? That like, you just, it invoked those emotions, because you do feel like you got to know this guy so well in such a short amount of time, and then just to be taken away so suddenly and so shamelessly.
Well, if I can give you guys anything, it's that you shared him and his work with me in a way I hadn't appreciated before. So thank you.
Thanks for listening. And to answer your question, you can listen on pretty much anywhere there, you know, a podcast are offered, at least the major ones. And then Facebook's been weird. We do Facebook Live, but they erased those after like 30 days now. So YouTube is always a sure shot for our full library.
YouTube,
Gotcha.
YouTube, Twitch, and X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it.
We started uploading.
Are we live on YouTube?
Yes,
we're live on YouTube right now.
We're live on YouTube right now?
Yes,
Correct.
we are.
Hold on, I got to call my mom. That's
Mom,
amazing.
I made it.
I've
I'm on
never been
TV.
live on YouTube.
Yeah.
I've consumed thousands of hours of YouTube.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know. Before we started this, I was an avid I listen to all the Wrestle Talk podcasts and Fightful and all that. I was a huge, and I still listen to podcasts. I don't listen to wrestling podcasts as much anymore because I do this so often. But I listen to a lot of like comedy podcasts and stuff. So I remember when we first started, I tried to like mimic our show off of what I had consumed, right? And we were doing like reviews of the shows, weekly shows and stuff like that. And then, so we actually didn't originally start. It was me, Mike, and our friend Brandon. Cephus wasn't there to start out. And then as we went on, Cephus ended up joining. Brandon ended up getting a job to where he couldn't continuously do it. Understandable. And then once Cephus came around, we kind of started branching off, and we found our niche. You know what I mean? We found our brand of what we wanted to do, and we definitely feel like we have our own style. We're not doing it like the other 1,000 wrestling podcasts out there. It's just a organic conversation. We have fun. We're all about positivity, and like Cephus said before the episode, we can end up talking about gas station pizza the entire episode. I don't care. I just want to have a good time and meet interesting people and have fun conversations.
Yeah.
The glue of the show is the friendship you three have, and that's just from being a very casual new viewer, that's the glue of what brings people back week after week, and what brings them in week to week, or new guests. Hopefully, I'll hopefully I give you guys a little bit of a rub here.
We'll take whatever we can get.
I'll take any rub I can get. Been married a long time.
But we can make this a recurring thing if you really want to. We'll do bi-monthly.
I would love to join you anytime.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm excited to be on. I was just like I was trying to throw you guys to like in radio we used to call a segue while I showed off my belly. I was like, by the way, Facebook Live, Instagram Live. But you're right. You've got your own mic. You've got your own way of doing it. You don't need me to like be Mr. Movie Phone. I get it. It's cool.
No, trust me. At the end of the show, I am Mr. Movie Phone. Make sure you check us out on all the socials at TWO.
I literally work a retail job now, and I answer the phone. And it takes people about 5 seconds to realize I'm not a robot, typically, because I give them the whole, spiel, and I'm like, hey, thank you for calling. And they wait and they go, oh, honey, I thought you were a computer.
You have that
It's
work
me.
voice. Well, my wife worked from home, and she would like answer the phone or like talk to somebody, and it's the sweetest, nicest voice. And she gets off the phone. I'm like, who the fuck was that? She's like, oh, it's one of the clients. I was like, no, talking out of your mouth.
Yeah. You want to get some of that customer service voice, right? Like,
right.
Everyone's dying for it. Oh my goodness.
Say hello. Say hi, Briscoe.
Briscoe. Hey. What up, dog?
You guys have the cutest pets. Folks, if you're listening on the podcast version like I was for weeks, you're missing these great pets that make cameos on the Facebook Live, Instagram Live. It's great. Oh my goodness.
They're good.
Briscoe, he's so named after I got him about a week after Jay Briscoe passed. So
the late great Jay Briscoe.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? You're going to be Briscoe, is what you're going to be.
On my 30th birthday, I went to see Ring of Honor live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And the main event was ROH champion Kevin Steen and Jimmy Jacobs versus the Briscoe brothers. And it was at Turner Hall in Milwaukee. And that was the show where... believe it was Mark, dove off the balcony of Turner Hall into the ring through a table on that, unbelievable. I was so honored to get to watch Jay Briscoe and Mark Briscoe wrestle in cities like, outside St. Louis and in Chicago and in Milwaukee. And, and wherever else I got to see him. And I think about two guys that just every time put their bodies on the line to tell a great story and leave everyone happy. And what a loss it was, Jay Briscoe. And I just I wish more wrestlers got their flowers while they were alive, because
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
it's
like many other
it's
artists,
unfortunate,
though.
but
It's the way it happens, you know.
yeah, it
That's
is.
why I
You know,
for Matt Hardy. When I saw Matt Hardy, I was like, look, you are the best fucking wrestler ever. You are my favorite of all time. I'm not bullshitting you. I'm not trying to give you what everyone else gets. There's a lot of people I would say they're some of my favorites. But if you talk about the wrestler that's given me the most joy, it's Matt Hardy. From Big Money
Oh.
Matt to the Hardy Boys to
What are you doing?
Broken Matt Hardy to Woken Matt Hardy to, Never Gonna
Don't
Die
forget
Matt
Mattitude.
Hardy. Yeah, Mattitude version 1
Mattitude.
and version 2. I'm a huge fan.
So how did you classify that? Matt Hardy is your most enjoyed wrestler?
Yes, I've got the most enjoyment out of Matt Hardy. I mean, he's everything he does is great. You talk
That's
about
awesome.
like when people ask MVP, what are your favorite moments? He brings up Matt Hardy. When people talk,
Oh yeah,
with tons of other wrestlers, it's the same answer. He's some of the best content, whether he's middle of the card, top of the card, the most important thing, the weirdest thing,
Yes.
whatever it is. I don't know. Matt's always been my favorite. So I gave him, that's why when I met him, I was like, I got to make sure you get your flowers from me, man, because
that's
by far.
awesome.
Yeah.
Who I'm interested in the other host. Who would you say is your most enjoyed wrestler, like in that regard?
Me?
Yeah, Mr.
Oh, yeah.
Magnificent.
Oh God, I don't like currently or
All
just of all time.
Like
HBK.
all time most enjoyed, like maybe wasn't the most over with everyone, but like made the biggest impact on you.
HBK. I grew up when I started watching wrestling in the 80s, I loved the Rockers. I was a young lad.
Absolutely.
And I was along for that whole ride, dude. And I mean, just his whole come up, winning the Intercontinental Championship, and then eventually winning the big. Dude, everything you've talked about, going to the grocery store, renting the videos and all that stuff, is literally pages of my story as well.
That's so awesome. Big Rig, how about you?
I was about to say, show him the tattoo.
Mankind, Mick Foley, Dude Love, Cactus Jack, whatever you want to call him, baby. That is my guy.
Do we still have the
Who gave
photo
more?
saved in the thing of you meeting him?
I don't know. I'll look it up.
It's one of the best photos ever because Eric, I didn't realize his mouth could smile that wide.
I look like a 6-year-old kid meeting Santa Claus.
You look like the smiley sticker
of professional wrestling, like that we all get to feel that way, every now and then. For me, my personal most enjoyed favorite wrestler of all time is the Rocket Owen Hart. WrestleMania 10 was like a pivotal moment for me. And I think every other little brother was secretly rooting for Owen and knew that there was no way that Bret Hart wasn't going to win against Owen Hart. And then Owen Hart pinned Bret Hitman Hart. And every little brother in the world was like, we did it.
Yeah.
And Owen Hart just took me along for the ride. And if you go back and look at his matches, just a guy that was way, way, way ahead of his time in ring, and distinct from even his own family in a wrestling style. And you can be a nerd and look at his Japanese stuff. You can watch the Blue Blazer wrestle Mr. Perfect at WrestleMania 5. All of it is flawless to me as an Owen Hart fan. So that is it for me.
Yeah, when people have the question, who is your favorite mishmash tag team? They just put two random people together. I always think of him and Coco. Him and Coco Beware was such
my God.
It was such a fucking oddball team, dude, but they were so good together.
What about
I thought you were talking about
Elimination and
mishmatch teams, not the legendary team of High Energy. for a band Coco Beware and Morocco and Hart. Not the legendary, which, by the way, they were using the same outfits as Owen and Jim Neidhart had used as the new foundation like months earlier. And then Jim Neidhart was out and they were like, Coco, you can fit into this outfit. And that's how High Energy was formed.
I met Coco and he didn't have the damn bird with him. I'm like, why are you even here?
The bird passed away in a fire, not to bring the mood down. But
anyway, insert mouth.
To be fair,
let me bring the mood back up. You want to see pure joy in its purest form?
Oh, he found it.
No, I have to delete one of the 1,000 images we have on here.
Oh, but you mentioned WrestleMania 10. Eric and I went back not long ago, but recently, and watched WrestleMania 10 again. Watch that particular match, and have commented several times of how relevant it still is today. Like you could put that match on any show today, and it's still just as relevant. Amazing.
And you talk about a time when like a wrestling program, whether it was a pay-per-view or a syndicated television show or the early cable stuff they were doing from like even before Raw in '93, they were doing the All American Wrestling and other cable shows on the weekends, which were mostly recap shows at the time. But like the idea that you could take a wrestling program and like bookend it like that with that story where like Brett comes up short against his little brother and then hours later defeats the giant Yokozuna for the title. Granted, Yoko slipped on a banana peel, but you know, and just that last shot of Owen coming out and looking at everyone celebrating with his big brother. And even though this was his night and he finally bested Bret the Hitman Hart, he was shown up once again. I mean, it's brilliant. What does The Rock do? You know, goosebumps. You know, yeah. That's where it comes from. Yes.
Absolutely. All right, here we go. I was so happy.
I've used that face so many times in thumbnails.
It looks like he's so happy.
Dude,
like
genuinely one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life.
Who is now? I'm turning the tables and interviewing you guys. Who is the nicest celebrity or like the most down to earth celebrity you've met?
There's a lot of them for me because I somehow end up in the strangest situations with the craziest people. I really do.
I love that for you.
I ended up in a $500 Ric Flair party at WrestleMania 40.
Stumbled into it
for free. Everyone else paid freaking $300-$500 worth to get in, and I was just eating the free food and drinking. And there's a bunch of things on that shelf back there. I'm not one for keeping beer bottles, but literally right there is a beer bottle from Ric Flair. He gave me that beer. He's like, here you go. I was like, okay. This is mine forever. Now I'm sneaking this all the way home. I drove home with that bottle. I'm keeping this forever. Ric Flair
the best part of that was me and Mike were not there. He was there in Philly by himself.
I went to WrestleMania by myself.
Oh wow, getting silly in Philly.
And we're getting videos of just like the updates throughout the day. He sent us a video and he's just like, I just Trojan horsed inside Ric Flair's party. And he just like shows us like all around, and we're just like, what is happening right now? And then like there was another one where you like met Kurt Angle, and then just all kinds of stuff. It was wild.
Hey man, you just gotta act like you're supposed to be there. But when it comes to that though, I don't think that Ric Flair is the nicest. By far the nicest that has went out of the way for me is Danhausen. Danhausen and we follow each other on social media. He's been extremely kind to my kids. My kids one time, he did a meet and greet in our city, and my kids had soccer tournaments that day, and he let them come in early and be first in line and everything. And like he's just exceedingly kind. Danhausen, I've said this about a couple wrestlers before, but Danhausen could come out on stage eat a live puppy, and I would assume that the puppy deserved it. So, I don't know. I don't know. Danhausen's a great dude.
I wasn't going to editorialize on your choices, but I will say, like, I easily believe Danhausen is a lot nicer than Ric Flair. Mr. Magnificent.
Yeah.
Al Snow. Al Snow was
He was great.
super awesome.
He sent me a
very,
t-shirt
very
once.
kindly.
Did he?
Yeah, when one of the many times the Winged Eagle went like viral or like had a Twitter moment, from the Collar and Elbow site, he commented like, that guy should get a shirt, and I like tweeted him and he sent me a couple shirts and I still wear them to this day.
Oh yeah.
So love Al Snow. And I once saw the New Rockers wrestle live in person. So
Same here.
We've seen the new Rockers wrestle live in person, which is him and Cal Hero. They wrestle at Squared Circle Expo.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, they're actually the current champion.
The new Squared?
The Squared
The
Circle
new Rockers.
New
They
Rockers.
are it's him and Cal Hero, and they are the current tag team champions.
Al was probably our
That's
first
awesome.
really like world known guest. We had him on and we made him cry.
We got him on like a week or two right after Wrestlers came out on Netflix too.
Yeah. 2 weeks
You
after
made him cry?
Oh yeah, we made him cry. We know his daughter. What's funny, we've been doing this podcast for like a year, right? And she was like, "Why haven't you guys had my dad on?" We're like, "Who's your dad?" She's like, Al Snow. We were like, "We didn't know your fucking dad was Al Snow." And she texted him. And he's like, "Yeah, we'll do the show." So
you had no idea.
We had no idea.
But we had her record a video just talking about how great of a father he is. And we played that while he was on the show and surprised him with it. And he just started crying. And I was like, yeah, there we go. And because of that,
you magnificent bastards. That's genius.
Because of that, Mike, he messaged us on Instagram or something and told us, well, we got free tickets for you at OVW. And we went to, what was it, Cheap Heat or something like that? It was some kind of February 14th.
No, it was something Love or something.
Yeah. Valentine's Day show. I know that.
Yeah. It was a good show.
Very cool, though.
He sat us with his mom, which was kind of like,
bro, we're in line. And like, this is like something like we wanted to have as a podcast. Like when we originally set this thing up, like something like this, we're in line and security comes around and they come to us and like, oh, you're Al's friends, come with us. And we just walk by everybody.
We are Al's
wow.
Yeah, it was that kind
you
of thing.
Big timed everyone. That's great.
Pretty fucking cool.
All right. So Danhausen, Al Snow, Big Rig.
For me, it'd probably have to be Thunder Rosa, and that's just based on all the interactions I've had with her with my daughter. She has been just an absolute angel to my daughter.
I heard on the podcast you talked about her like picking your daughter out of line, right? Like
like she legit we met her at an indie show a few years back and then ended up seeing her at another one both times. My daughter had her face painted up just like her and everything. And she's just always been so sweet to her. Like, dude, there was one year she FaceTimed her on her birthday. And it was just like, it was the coolest thing ever. And then we saw her at Squared Circle Expo and she like, we were across the room and she like pointed at her like, and like knew her immediately. So she's just been so wonderful. And I would say a runner up to that would be Athena. And that is because of her interactions with my daughter as well. Met her quite a few times. And I remember a couple years ago at Squared Circle, we saw her there and she remembered her. And with the conventions, I don't know if you've ever been to any conventions, but usually like if you want to take a picture or an autograph, you got to like pay the money, whatever. Athena like grabbed her and she was like, "Hey, Emmy, how you doing?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm good," kind of shy. And she's like, "Here, let me introduce you to my friends. Here's Mickey James. Here's Willow Nightingale." Here, like brought her around the room and she got to like take pictures and meet everybody. Didn't have to pay a dime. Like just being the freaking coolest.
That is so cool.
Yeah, pretty awesome.
And by the way, like you outdated all of us and put your kid over in your choice. So that's,
obviously
that's cool. That's cool. Mine, I'm gonna just jump outside of wrestling and say like I've met a lot. Like I used to do like live music production and like I work. I used to work in I've met a lot of like musicians,
Okay.
actors, things like that. And generally, like I think people just want to be treated like a person, especially when they're not treated that way all the time. Um, but my favorite interaction was actually since I was working in a restaurant in Providence and Kevin Smith came in
Wow.
and the director. And I was the floor manager of the restaurant. So I was going by doing table touches. And I just went by and I was like, hey folks, how is everything? And he was, oh, it's good. I said, all right, Babylon, which was the catchphrase of the Hollywood Babylon podcast at the time. And he just started laughing out loud, like an actual like hearty, like, oh, this nerd listens to my podcast kind of laugh. Because I didn't let that on at first. At first, I just wanted to make sure he was enjoying his meal. And so I didn't bother him again after that. I had my moment, whatever. So he and his guest were leaving the restaurant later, and he called me over and he said, hey, man, I assume by what you said that you're a fan. And I was like, absolutely. And he said, do you want to take a picture? And I was like, absolutely. And he was like, cool, give me your phone. And he took a selfie of us, which was just like a guy that just treated everyone like a real person, everyone in the restaurant. Because it's one thing to like treat the manager okay, but like he treated every server, every person he interacted with is just like a kind, unassuming gentleman. And to go out of his way, and say like, hey, would you like a picture with me when I wasn't, gonna bother him or ask for one because I was in a professional setting. Um, what a cool dude.
Right?
Yeah,
Uh,
that's got to be
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, that was
what a
huge,
guy.
man.
Yeah,
And the fact you kind of like let him do his thing though too, and didn't like fan out or like bother him while he's trying to eat and stuff like that. I think that's a big thing too. Is like you said, treat them like people. You're not going to go up to anybody and like interrupt them in the middle of dinner. You know what I mean? They're like, hey, introduce yourself. You know what I mean? So have the same
I've
respect when
seen,
you meet a celebrity.
yeah, I've seen people do it. There used to be a Hard Rock Cafe nearby, whatever they call the Kiel Center in St. Louis now, Enterprise Center, whatever it is, whoever runs it, the home of the St. Louis Blues. There used to be a Hard Rock Cafe, and like Jerry Lawler and some of the boys would always eat there. And I saw everyone be gracious, but I would see people like approach wrestlers during their meal.
Hmm.
And like that's just never the move. If you're watching this, listening to this, if you enjoy wrestling, if you love wrestling, that's never the move.
no.
Well, how
Don't
Or
do
in
about
it.
like the
airports.
people that do it at like the airport and shit too? Like, could you be any fucking weirder? Like, this is not the place that they want to fucking talk to people. Like,
If I happen to be at the airport, like I'm getting on a flight,
That's different.
that's
I
different.
might say, hey, I'm not gonna wait outside the
But
airport
waiting at their
because
fucking gate like a weirdo or outside their hotel,
With
like
37 of their wrestling figures. I
Hey,
need
can
you
you
to
sign all
sign
these?
all of these.
yeah, eBay's waiting.
I gotta touch back on something you said though, man. Kevin Smith. I gotta second that. I in 2018, I had a issue with drinking monsters. I was drinking 12 to 15 a day, and
Jeez.
I overstimulated myself to the point that I had an actual heart attack. And when I went to the hospital and stuff, the doctors, they were like, well,
Oh
how
my
much
goodness.
do you do? I was like, I don't do cocaine, but lo and behold, it was because of the monsters. But when I met Kevin Smith and I told him, I was like, hey man, we have something in common. We both had a heart attack weeks apart from each other. And he was just like, oh shit. Like, and he's like, we're heart attack brothers, bro. We both lived. And he gave me a big hug and he took a big picture with my family, man. He's a fantastic guy, dude. I was you talk about
And that's like you talk about a human reaction, like we're heart attack brothers, we both lived.
Yep.
That touches me. That touches me like when Jonathan Joss said, thanks for appreciating your mom during that podcast.
Oh
And
yeah.
I was just like, I watched that after passing, and I was just like, right in the feels, you know?
That's a human
And like,
reaction. That's a human
yeah,
statement.
That earned me some hella brownie points.
yeah.
My mom was very happy. She was like, "That was so kind of you." I was like, "Well, you know, it is what it is.
Aw.
People deserve a second
Well,
chance."
you know, let's discuss we're all family men, right? Like this is
Yeah.
the Dad World Order podcast, and I feel very welcome here because I am a father myself. I have a 14-year-old who
Oh,
in the fall will be entering high school.
are they fun 14 or like I know everything 14 yet?
He would sell me for a nickel.
Okay.
But no, he is a great kid. He's brilliant, but he's at an age where he is definitely starting to define himself
Mhm.
against his parents, you
Yep.
know. But that's the way it should be. I'm so proud of him, and he is the joy. He is my life's work, you know. Like every parent feels that way, I feel like. So
Yeah.
I have a 14-year-old, but I'm interested in hearing about everyone else's families.
I have one that turns 18 this year, and then I have an 11 and a 7-year-old as well.
That is
Good.
awesome. Prolific.
Good, Eric. I'll finish.
Yeah, I'll let you finish.
Mr. Magnificent.
Well, I have a 9-year-old, and then the woman I'm dating has a 13-year-old, so I kind of have a pseudo 13-year-old as well. So that was fun, you know. Like my 9-year-old's kind of like that preteen. She's starting to get into the teenage phase, and then we started dating, and it was like, by the way, this is a teenager, and she is a wonderful kid. I love them both to death, and it's definitely one of those things where I'm like, man, this is going to be really fun when they're all cycling. It's going to be an interesting household. I like to make that joke a lot, and they're all like, you'll be fine. And I'm like, I'm going to go fishing.
Me and Briscoe are going to go fishing.
Yeah. No, they're wonderful. My 9-year-old is my little wrestling buddy, also my fishing buddy, and just my nerd buddy in general. Like she FaceTimed me at work today because she's been reading the Percy Jackson series, and she just had to break down the last like 4 chapters that she read for me. Like I'm an electrician, so I'm like up on a ladder like doing stuff, and I have her on FaceTime. I got my phone like sitting on a steel beam, and she's talking to me, and I'm working, and she's just telling me all about the last 4 chapters of Percy Jackson that she read, and I'm just like, hell yeah, give me the. I could go take a test on Percy Jackson right now and probably pass it. So
awesome.
yeah, it's pretty wonderful getting those moments where she doesn't have a phone yet, but she does have an iPad that she can FaceTime me from, so I'm thankful for that. You know, when she's at her mom's. But I will be picking her up tomorrow, actually, and cannot wait to spend the weekend with her. It'll be awesome.
That's beautiful. And 9 is like a magical age.
Oh yeah,
And, like,
she's such a little weirdo, and I love her to death. She's wonderful.
Also, shout out to you and every other male figure that enters a young person's life and is willing to take on that role.
Yeah,
and be that
absolutely.
example. Like that's huge. Good on you. You know.
I took her to get her eyebrows done today. That was pretty cool. Never been to an eyebrow salon before.
Oh, really?
Nope. I was very lost.
That explains a lot.
She was like, you gotta sign me in, and I was like, this is my first time here. I don't have
waxing or threading.
Waxing.
Mm.
I do know that.
So we're all dads here, right? Like that's.
Yes.
I have a 24-year-old, a 21-year-old, and my youngest is 17, and I have a almost 1-month-old grandson.
All right.
Papa.
So I'm gonna just guess that we're roughly the same age, which is really not fair because you're looking really handsome in that mustache, and I look like,
They don't call me
you know,
magnificent for nothing, my friend.
yeah. And meanwhile, it's not just the years, but the mileage, over here on this side. But you have a 24-year-old, you look like you're 24 yourself.
Thank you. That's the one good thing my mother passed along to me, and my mother's genes was, youthful. I was an ugly duckling, man. I was an ugly duckling in high school. So, but I found myself eventually.
He glowed up for show.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm all about a glow up. I'm all about a glow up.
I think part of it though was just confidence. So, as I got older, I got more confident and cared less what other people thought, and I think that just exudes too. And
Oh, for sure. For sure. There's nothing like really knowing yourself,
Mhm.
And I don't personally I'm 42. I'm turning 43 next month. And that like
I'm
there's a
45.
lot of wisdom I've gained in my 40s that, I wish I had my 20s when I was out managing the coolest bar in South St. Louis and, having way too good a time. Um, but everything means something to me, like every part of the journey. So
Not to piss you off more, but I'm 45.
you don't look a day over hot.
Yeah, well, look, dude, that mustache is doing it for you, Mike.
Yeah.
Fucking
You've changed from Mr. Magnificent to Mr. Mustache.
Well, we gotta ask you this, Justin. We told you before we don't really have a whole lot of like structured questions, but we do have two that we like to ask every guest. And since you're a dad, this one should hit particularly hard. And Mr. Magnificent, being the resident papaw, is usually the one that asks said question.
yeah, we don't like judge our guests, but we like to ask everybody, us being dads and budget-minded individuals, what do you keep your thermostat set to?
I am currently in Rhode Island and I have a box fan in my window.
Windows open?
Oh, what's that?
Windows open season?
Well, the screen is down, but yeah. Otherwise, windows open. Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely.
So
That's the best
nice.
time. So
I live in
nothing
the
at all.
ocean
That's
state.
even better than any answer you could give. It's not even on.
It's not even on, and it won't be on till I absolutely have to turn it on.
Yes.
And when I do, you know, Jeffrey and I will eventually reach some conclusion onto where it should be. But I'm a big dude. I sweat.
Yeah, trust me, I get it, dude.
But I'm also budget minded, so I'm poor.
It's a hard
Yes.
line to toe for sure.
It's all about the fans. It's all about bedtime and the placement and amount of fans.
Yep.
I think it's all key.
Absolutely.
We have a ceiling fan, like a tower fan on each side of the bed, and it's a whole system.
And if you're listening, my advice is like you can be either fat or poor, but when you're both, whew, it's rough out there.
It is rough out there.
Yeah. I'm a sweaty guy. Like the belt has never been bigger,
You say open window season, and like we're in the greater Cincinnati area here, and we have like 2 weeks of that. It feels like, but they're like the best. It's like the reason to live around here because during that time, it's like the evenings are cool and cool enough that you sleep great, and the days are warm to where you can like wear shorts, but it's not too hot to where you're sweating your ass off, kind of deal. So it's not enough of it.
Right. No, I've mentioned I'm putting over Rhode Island, but it is the ocean state. Also the home of Beyond Wrestling, which you can enjoy at home on IWTV. Anyway, I live in a community that's like near water and like getting the breeze and everything. It's good living. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri originally. So, which I don't know if you've ever been, but it's a drinking town with a baseball problem.
Yeah.
And
I've been in the Arch.
Have you ever heard of the Cincinnati Reds and our wonderful woes? We haven't had a freaking team since 1990, dude.
I love the St. Louis Cardinals, St. Louis Blues, St. Louis Battlehawks, every St. Louis team, and I love St. Louis. The unfortunate part of St. Louis is that it's located in Missouri, but you can't win them all.
Go ahead, that.
I got to be honest with you, man. Not to sound like SoCal Uncensored here, but the worst town I've ever been in was St. Louis. Not. It was fine. It looked okay, but when it talked about experience, oh my god, I had such a bad experience. We were there for the Royal Rumble when Brock and Ronda won, and we decided after the event.
Not the one that Sheamus won.
No, we decided after,
which was also in St. Louis. Sorry, deep lure.
Good. We decided though after the event that we wanted to go to get a drink because we were thirsty. We wanted to leave the hotel. We stayed at the Angard Arts Hotel, and we decided that we were going to walk 0.7 miles to the marathon to get a Mountain Dew, Coke, something, just some kind of pop, right? And we get there, and there's a lady behind a window, which we're used to in Cincinnati. They shut down and only do the window at certain times too, but they would only sell alcohol and tobacco. They wouldn't sell anything else. I was like, "There's Mountain Dew
the other way around."
You. She was like, "No, we only sell alcohol and tobacco right now." And I was like, "What? It's right there. I'll give you double for it." And they wouldn't sell it to us, dude.
You'd
So
think it'd be the opposite. Like, we only sell Mountain Dew right
Yeah.
now. We don't sell alcohol or
Fuck it. Give me a Budweiser and a pack
And
of
then
Marlboros.
what would you Mountain Dew? Next time you're in St. Louis, hit me up, and I will get you in more trouble than you can handle. I promise you.
Yes.
But there are some great places in St. Louis, but specifically if you were staying downtown, St. Louis is a city that has a lot of like sprawl. It's sort of similar to Los Angeles in that way, where like what someone calls St. Louis can mean like a lot of different things. In the downtown area, some of it, there's nothing to do after, a wrestling event or something. It's not a great area, but you wander into like South St. Louis or, any of the, St. Louis County has like 92 municipalities. I'm sorry, I'm putting my like poli-sci nerd hat on now, but like St. Louis is an interesting place. Did you say you're from Cincinnati?
Yes.
Yes.
It's kind of the same boat here.
I worked for Dewey's Pizza for 4 years.
Yeah.
Really?
All right.
Okay.
Does that mean anything to anyone?
Yeah, they just
Yeah.
built one
Yeah.
like down the street from my house.
Yeah, Dewey's
Yeah.
great.
Free shout out to Dewey's Pizza. They fired me in 2008. They're terrible. Don't eat there. No, they're great. They're great.
Eat a dick.
Asshole.
But if you want to know who named the Rocky Balboa and the Tito Santana, it was me.
There you go.
No big deal.
Nice.
Like,
What was
legit?
what was the Tito Santana?
Some kind of Mexican pizza. I
Racist.
don't remember really.
Taco
It was
meat.
2007, brother. It was a minute ago. I was a very different
Quite a
person
bit of
back then.
jazz cabbage since then. It affects the memory every once in a while.
I'm gonna use that forever now. I've never heard that before you.
The jazz cabbage?
Yes, and I am a avid listener to jazz, if you will. So
An eater of cabbage.
yeah.
When you tangle with the devil's lettuce, you get what's coming to you.
I think one of my favorite terms I've ever heard for it is the electric lettuce.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I don't know why. I think it was the context I heard it in, but it was very funny the first time I heard it.
So I live in a state where it's very recreational and legal. And my partner used to work in a dispensary in the state. And it's very interesting to me when I travel how it just varies state by state. And like, it's
Ohio just
2025.
became
Is it
legal.
still a thing?
Ohio just became legal.
Yeah.
That
then
I'm very
Indiana-
happy for you.
Indiana will put your ass in 6 months for a joint. Like, ridiculous.
Ellie.
It's kind of ridiculous.
In what sense does that make? Like, we're all Americans living in America, and it's
Hey.
Yeah.
a very like I'm as someone that like came worked in like the bar and restaurant industry and like the alcohol industry specifically. I worked at bars, I worked at breweries, I did a lot of that stuff. I can say that the cannabis industry is like helping far more people, and is like, I think, less insidious than, like, I'm enjoying a beer. Don't get me wrong. I'm not, an abolitionist or anything, but like,
Like everything in moderation.
everything in moderation. And the jazz cabbage has done a lot for people that have physical ailments, mental ailments, people that just want to enjoy recreationally. So
It's done a lot for me musically. I've wrote most of my songs I've ever wrote with the addition of jazz cabbage. So I use it for health benefits as well. But when I was younger, that's where it was a source of inspiration in a way, So I don't see
that's
where
awesome.
it's ever really hurt anybody, But that's a whole other story.
Yeah, I think it's less harmful overall than alcohol to society is where I say, having been in like both industries somewhat, or exposed to both industries. I love alcohol. I mean, clearly I don't have a six pack, but I have a keg, Um,
Got a father figure.
Yeah. Nice.
Yes. Not a dad bod, a father figure. There you go.
To quote MC Chris, they say weed funds Al Qaeda. Sounds like the government's jealous.
I'd say if
Oh my God,
if
did I
they
answer
had a
your
way
question?
to,
I just went on a tangent. Big Rig,
I don't
what was the question again?
Oh, the second one was.
Oh, yeah.
What's something you're thankful for today?
Thankful for today? I'm thankful every day. I will share with everyone that a member of my family got some potentially tough health news today. And I think about when Warren Zevon went on the David Letterman show, when he knew that he was dying of cancer, and David Letterman asked him what he had taken from the experience, and he said, "Enjoy every sandwich." I'm enjoying the hell out of being on this podcast with you guys right now. I'm enjoying that I am, the father of a brilliant 14-year-old. I enjoy that I live in the ocean state of Rhode Island with my partner Jeffrey. I just try to enjoy every day, and like, I take that into my work, where, despite the fact, I know this is going to shock everyone listening, but despite the fact that I have a tattoo you can literally Google from anywhere at any moment, I have to work for a living. And I take that energy into my work and just try to make a difference doing whatever I'm doing while I'm doing it. So what am I thankful for today? Ideally, I appreciate everything and expect nothing.
Hey, that's kind of how we roll, man.
Yeah.
We know that if we keep chugging along and we keep doing cool stuff, that eventually this world's going to reward us for putting in the work. And it's already started to, man. Like I said, we've had really cool experiences. I mean, we talked about Jonathan Joss, but for example, Kevin Sullivan, if you remember him from pro wrestling, his last two appearances on any podcast of any kind was on our show before he passed away. So we have these like crazy moments that are like under our belt already. We've had America's Got Talent guests. We've had actors, CEOs, musicians. We've had all kinds of different stuff, and it's really starting to come up Millhouse. So it's pretty cool.
Now you've met me.
Yeah,
exactly.
So I mean,
and you know what? I appreciate what you said, but appreciate everything, because right now my two ding dong dogs are playing grab ass with each other, and there are times where it drives me insane. They're both very young; they're 1 and 2. But you know what? I'm going to appreciate it, because there's going to be a day where they're both 14 years old and they can't play grab ass with each other anymore.
Yep.
So I'm going to appreciate them being young and dumb while I can.
Let them play.
Yeah, they got a lifetime to become Bert and Ernie. Let them.
For sure. We've dubbed them the Ding Dong Brothers at this point. They are one of the ones in Austin. So Briscoe is some kind of mix of like lab terrier and probably something else, and then Murphy is an Aussie Doodle. So Murphy's a big, giant, fluffy guy, and then Briscoe's a long-bodied, short, stubby-legged guy. So they make for a very odd couple when you see them next to each other, but they get along great.
Do you guys ever watch the movie The Strays? About the dogs' voices?
Oh,
no, I never saw it.
the
new one
trailer for that in the theater, and I was like, I'm absolutely going to go see that. I've never seen it.
You talking
Okay.
Will Ferrell, Kevin Smith, or Kevin Hart?
Yeah.
Okay,
Kevin Hart. Yeah.
It's fantastic. And the way so there's a Great Dane in there, and I have 5. And the way they depict the Great Dane in there is so spot on. I mean, just how the voice they gave it is exactly what I picture my dogs thinking and how they act. Like, so they must have really put their homework in. I don't know. Talking about
I grew up with dogs, but currently I live with 3 cats. So that's different.
Cephus, how many animals do you live with?
I love them.
I have
What's
3 dogs. I have 3 dogs and 7 cats. My wife is the president of an animal rescue, and we get all the broken and beaten ones because my wife's is all about misfit kitties. That's her screen name on everything. She's
a saint.
She likes the broken cats.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So that's what we get.
You talk about having a big heart.
Yeah.
That's
she's a saint.
I want to shout out the mother of my child that works for the 10 Lives Cat Rescue in Rhode Island. You
motherfuckers really are
just
kindred
like
spirits.
Anyone
guys.
that we are.
This is how weird is this? Yeah. But yeah, my baby mama and the parlance of our times also works for a cat rescue. So
that's interesting.
That's awesome.
Hey, well, at least we had you on today, and it didn't become a rivalry; it became a tag team, bro. I'm excited. At one point, we're gonna have to get a bellies touching photo. We're gonna have to.
I've done worse for less. So,
man, how can people find you if they want to follow you, keep up on you after the show?
So, I am unfortunately still on Twitter, which I heard it has a new name. I don't know, but I joined Twitter in 2009, so I'm on Twitter at DEYEMOFO Dimofo. Also on Instagram, also on Threads. You can find me on Facebook, but don't. No, I'm kidding. You can find me on Facebook.
Please don't.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not, I'm to anyone that is listening as a wrestling fan, like I'm a wrestling fan just like you. I just have a tattoo that you can Google. So there's that.
To be fair, you made for a pretty interesting, easy to talk to guest sometimes. And, to be honest, we even had this conversation. We didn't know how you would be as an interview. Sometimes you get people on and, they're just, they'll yes and no your questions. You'll ask them a 5-minute long question. They'll be like, yeah.
Dude, I totally had that thought today too.
I
was like, literally the only thing we know about this guy is he's got a tattoo. I was like, he could totally be the shit and we wouldn't even know it.
Yeah.
Or he could be like some huge freaking bigot or something, what I mean? Just talking out of his ass.
For example. If you want to go back and watch a crazy episode, go back and watch our Steve Kern episode, and you'll notice that there are a lot of cuts in that episode, and it wasn't aired live. It was aired live.
Thank goodness.
But we cut it up we recorded that. That's what it was.
Thank goodness.
We recorded that one, thank God, because he was dropping
it wasn't even malicious. It was just he's old as shit and doesn't care how he talks.
Yes. Exactly.
It was cringy.
We live in an imperfect world, I hope that the arc of history bends more towards justice and peace and understanding, and ultimately not the kind of division that took, our friend Jonathan from us, and not that, I obviously, pro wrestling is a very special place, right? Because it unites people that may see themselves as liberal or conservative or whatever. And it unites us all in this passion play of good versus evil and right versus wrong. And, you know, it just, I don't want to bring the mood down or bring politics or bring anything into
Don't.
anything. I just want to say that like we're all like, if we can all be kind to one another as we go through what we're all going through, that means the most to people, honestly. So like you never know what someone else is going through. You never know how their day has been. You never knew, I got health news about a family member today, and it's like it really puts everything in perspective. So enjoy every sandwich and be kind to one another, right?
Hey,
I love that. Put that on a fucking t-shirt.
I was
Man.
about to
Enjoy every
say the
sandwich.
same shit. Enjoy every sandwich. That's a catchphrase, dude. Like that's a
Yeah,
whole
well, that was Warren Zevon. That's not me, but that was Warren Zevon.
Still wonderful, wonderful quote for sure. And man, Justin, I have been thinking this since like the 20-minute mark, but we have to have you back on because I have so much more that I want to talk to you about, and I'm sure stuff that will just come out organically too. So please let's get another date on the books because we would love to have you back on. You have been an absolutely fantastic guest. Even Murphy thinks so. He's
Hey,
like,
Murph.
he's like, he. So
Well,
do you
this
ever
review means
talk
a
to
lot.
your,
Some of the best
do you
people I
ever
know are
talk to your
dogs.
pets? Like you make up a voice for them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Murphy's
I'm
voice.
pretty
Yes,
sure I hear my pets talk back.
This is Murphy boy, and I am not giving him attention right now, and he needs me to wrap this up so you can give me all the pets and attention. Thank you very much. That is Murphy.
Guys, I just want to thank you again. I would be remiss in not saying thanks for having me on. It's great to be a guest on your show. I hope I haven't bored the hell out of you. And
Not at all.
it's your like again like the friendship you guys share as fathers, as wrestling fans, as nerds, as whatever labels you want to apply to yourselves. Is like the glue of this. So like I'm new on the Dad World Order podcast train, but I would love to stick around too. So if you would have me back, I would be honored to be a guest.
Bro, you've been Dad World Order for 14 years now.
yeah. You just didn't know it yet.
Yeah,
This is
I've
just your
been
first
telling
appearance on the
great
podcast.
jokes my whole life, but had to have a kid to justify it.
Also,
Shout out to
before-
my wife.
Look at that. Is that grilled cheese?
Brought to me,
Yeah.
yeah.
My wife made French toast and bacon before we came on. One of my favorite meals.
Oh.
Yeah.
I had pizza. Also, before we get out of here, we got to shout out our dude, Dave
Hey.
of the Pro Wrestling Podcast.
Dave!
We love you, buddy. All right. Well, we are at almost an hour and a half. So
See?
if
We're
you
having
haven't
too much
watched
fun.
our show at all, we typically go about an hour.
Yeah, we
Sometimes
went a
we'll
half
go a
hour
little over. Very rarely have we gone an hour and a half. So
Sometimes you have a
That's-
guest that won't shut up.
no, that's saying something about the caliber of guest you are, sir. So thank you so much
You're very
for
kind.
coming on here. You boys got anything else before we wrap this up?
Have a great weekend.
Absolutely.
Have a great
Have a great-
Father's Day.
Father's Day
Oh,
weekend.
yeah. It's Father's Day.
Let's go, dude.
By the way,
20th
Hank
most
Hill.
popular holiday.
Hank Hill drops in Fortnite on Sunday. So if anybody wants to come get to smoke, I am at Mr. Cephus on Epic Games. If you want to come get some. I tell you what. I'm
You're
so
just gonna be
excited.
Hank Hill for the rest of your
I
time
told my
playing.
wife, I was like, I have hundreds of skins. I don't need them anymore. I just need my Hank Hill. That's all I need.
What if they
Pickies
come
up,
out with
baby.
Bobby though?
If they come out with Bobby, I might. I mean, don't get me wrong, dude. I would switch to Dale too. You know what I
Oh,
mean? Give me,
Dale, yeah, for sure.
give me Dale with the shasha pocket sand.
Pocket sand.
Yes.
All right. Well, as always, we have been the DWO podcast. I am Big Rig Eric Maffey. He is Mr. Magnificent Mike Martin. He is the wrestling t-shirt guy, Bo Cephus. And he is the man with the big gold winged eagle, Mr. Justin Deming. As always, you can check us out on all the socials at DWO_podcast, Facebook at the DWO podcast, TikTok at DWO_pod. get that dad merch at Pro Wrestling Tees and T Public, or message us directly. You can see Mr. Magnificent rocking that shirt right there. That's the original.
OG.
Like, subscribe, listen, follow, all that
Bluetooth
good stuff.
disconnected.
And
Bluetooth connected.
till next time, top dads out.